Hello and welcome back to Coin Lady channel. Here are some of attorney John Deaton's most recent remarks, which, to tell you the truth, he stated something that I believe may surprise, if not shock, you. Quite a few of you are paying attention. But he insists that XRP did, in fact, pass the HOWEY test back when it was first introduced more than a decade ago. And when I say that XRP passes the HOWEY test, I mean that the SEC is making the case that XRP is an investment contract. Now obviously the SEC is saying that they are arguing that the asset itself is actually the security and that everything, forever and all time, every single XRP transaction is also under the same umbrella, which is completely nonsensical. Not that Attorney General Deaton would ever say such a thing. But I'm going to quote exactly what John Deaton said here because I never want to take the words out of anyone else's mouth. This is why he said, and I quote, "All altcoins satisfy HOWEY at the time of their origin." I think that is fascinating, and I will explain why in greater detail later on. And in my opinion, that is not a significant drawback for any cryptocurrency, including XRP. Actually, this relates back to the idea of requiring a safe harbor approach, which has been raised by SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce. She argues that we should create a safe haven for cryptocurrency startups in the United States so that in the beginning they can be centralized and therefore more easily pass the HOWEY test, but later on they can become decentralized and there is no common enterprise. And it may be 3 years, it could be 5. Hester Peirce has been arguing along these lines. SEC the top brass, including Kim Jong-un, isn't particularly fond of that idea. Without that, though, it's far simpler to argue that Bitcoin and everything else was a security or investment contract when they were first created due to their centralized nature. There was once just the one miner, Satoshi Nakamoto. But there is something I need to clarify before we go any further. I come from no financial or legal background. Do not buy or sell anything based on anything I say or write. I'm not a licensed attorney or financial advisor. Just a hobbyist here that occasionally posts films to YouTube on various crypto-related topics. Okay, then? So, where did this whole discussion begin? According to a recent tweet, Coinbase is now offering Bitcoin and Ethereum perpetual futures settled in USD with up to 5 times leverage to institutional clients in qualified jurisdictions outside of the US. Coinbase has been the target of criticism in its home country, so it's no surprise that the company has been eyeing opportunities in international countries and blogging about the process. I don't think it's necessary for you to read the complete blog to understand this one post. In the United States, Bitcoin exchanges like Coinbase are struggling. So, lawyer John Deaton shared the tweet below in response. The US government should be ashamed. Think about this. There have been 57 enforcement actions taken by the SEC against crypto businesses since 2017 over ICO like Kik and Telegram. And so on. The Hinman address was delivered to us in 2018. The SEC has finally released its digital asset framework in 2019. Along the same lines, in 2019, former Chairman Clayton openly concurred with Hinman's statement, saying the token itself is not a security and that a token can initially be issued as a security but then modified so that subsequent sales of the token no longer meet the HOWEY test. I should pause here to mention that I've written about specific material from Clayton on this very subject. You may recall that he proposed the idea of a laundromat token, which, if initially used only to raise money, would indicate that it is more of an investment contract. The token will be used to pay for washing services once the firm is up and running. Obviously, that's not a contract for making a financial investment. So, it was correct to assume that idea. That the underlying asset is never the security is an idea that has been discussed at length in the XRP community. As Attorney Deaton points out, this is certainly the case. But here we are, 4 years later, with less clarity in the regulations. To the crypto skeptics who dismiss Hinman and Clayton's remarks as irrelevant since they were merely their opinions, I say, hogwash. To be courteous, I say something else instead. It's unfortunate that our government officials can't get together to create some sort of regulatory structure, even if many in the industry would view it as being too stringent. Set decentralized enough standards that must be met before something can be considered a commodity. This is not a complex issue. The Ripple XRP instance is a prime instance of this. To address concerns that Ripple could control too much of the token supply, the sufficiently decentralized paradigm should require that no single entity own more than a predetermined cap on token ownership. And, by the way, I'll pause to mention to you all that I personally see no issue with that. I just want there to be rules in place so that there aren't any open questions and the regulatory landscape is clear. And look, as far as what the SEC's position is concerned, if you read their original complaint and everything that's followed after, they have actually outright come and said that no Ripple, owning the quantity that they possess, is the problem. They haven't made that claim publicly yet. But even if that's the case, Judge Torres could look at this and find it to be negative if she's biased against Ripple in any way. Similarities exist between this and the library case, the judge then noted. Obviously, this is not the same as the credit talk case, but it's just to point out that a judge can come to whatever conclusion they want to. I'm paraphrasing, but that was a genuine counter-argument. The judge in that instance admitted that many people held the token for no other reason than its practical value, which makes the whole thing even more ludicrous. But I'm merely pointing out in order to help a judge reach a verdict in this particular case. But if that is one of the indicators that must be considered, then so be it. Actually, I couldn't care less. Truthfully, I couldn't give a hoot. Such regulations did not exist in the past. Since there aren't that many people paying attention to cryptocurrencies, Ripple probably figured they could hand out a lot more XRP for free than they actually did. This item with no value was rejected by everyone. However, once it begins trading on an exchange and is therefore worth real money, giving it away will only serve to artificially lower its price. The issue arises since doing so would destroy the ecosystem's monetary value, and you can't even afford to give it away. What will be will be. Well, let's hear more from Attorney Deaton. In terms of XRP itself, here are some things to keep in mind. In 2014, absolutely. Almost 10 years ago, the United States Government Accountability Office (GAO) defined XRP as a digital currency used in the Ripple decentralized payment network. Nowhere did it say that this was a security. Keep in mind that in 2015, FinCEN determined XRP to be in compliance with US banking rules, not securities laws, making it a convertible virtual currency enforced by Ripple. The SEC knew about this through a data sharing agreement with FinCEN in 2015, but it did not intervene to label the transactions as securities. Folks, keep in mind that Hinman implied in his talk that no network is secure if it is as decentralized as ETH or more so. Think at the fact that none of those 57 prosecutions involved Ripple. Think about what the words in the SEC's 2019 framework actually say. Tokens that can be exchanged for fiat currency or used as payment mechanisms are unlikely to win over HOWEY. That's exactly why people use XRP. Turn the pieces and spray the jets. Spend XRP in that way. An additional hint enabling P2P payments was even floating around on Twitter a long time ago. Check out Coinbase. Consider that this is the reason I've mentioned this before. You've reached an advertisement for Coinbase. Even though I don't have to, I'll read this one sentence where they've highlighted XRP. Sending XRP or USD to any Coinbase user anywhere in the world is now possible. They are, therefore, promoting XRP. Coinbase, currently a subsidiary of Common, is also included. Solicitor Deaton, please continue. Now think about the fact that XRP was featured in the 2019 FSOC annual report as a virtual currency and not a security. A report co-authored by Clayton and Jerome Powell, two of the United States' most prominent financial regulators. Also, in 2019, MoneyGram disclosed to the SEC its plans to use XRP in its international money transfer business. The SEC anticipated that MoneyGram will list XRP on Coinbase for public sale. The business was given the go light to go public more than 2 years ago. In 2014, a US report defined XRP as a virtual currency used in a decentralized payment system, marking 10 years since its introduction. Gary Gensler, the chairman of our company, refuses to clarify whether or not ETH is a security. Nonetheless, in Benham's view of the CFTC chief, this is not the case. You can make a strong case that much cryptocurrency is a Ponzi scheme or scam, despite CFTC Chair Rostin Benham's claims that it is a commodity. You, like me, can reasonably assume that all alternative cryptocurrencies and this. That is the point I'm making. At first, it's plausible to believe, as I do, that all cryptocurrencies, including ETH and XRP, at the time of their inception and initial sales or distribution, satisfy HOWEY. HOWEY may have been content with Bitcoin between 2011-2013. And therefore, yes, it would be much simpler to argue such a point in the past. But nonetheless, even fewer nations than the United States have securities laws that are comparable to our own. As such, that represents a potential flaw in this system. You'll have to make room in your framework for this technology if you want it to become a reality. There were probably a few other countries involved, and Canada was probably one of them. I'd have to look it up again, but I think there are only 2 or 3 nations that offer services that are comparable to those in the United States. But the framework is the issue. If you don't take it into account, you can't have this technology thrive and begin in the United States. Now we're done. It would be fine if you just tweaked it, jiggled things around, took into account the whole common enterprise thing, and proposed something along the lines of what Hester Peirce did. But their only goal is to put a stop to this nonsense. However, if you take a closer look, you could argue that I'm wrong, but the token is not a security. But if we go back to Bitcoin's beginnings, we can see that it was indeed a centralized system. Bitcoin was once controlled by a single entity. The time is not now. But that's how they all seem to kick off, actually. A network is automatically decentralized the instant it goes live. Perhaps that is possible, and it may even have occurred before. And I just don't know of any concrete instances of that. However, that would be an exception rather than the rule. Well, of course, even if that's the case. Then, Attorney Deaton adds, but one thing you cannot credibly argue is that the SEC is even remotely protecting investors. It hasn't done a good job of keeping investors safe, keeping markets honest and efficient, or helping new businesses get off the ground. It's a real shame. And that, by the way, is the SEC's stated objective. This is the case, then? In the space below, please share your feedback. No, I don't give out financial advice. Nothing I say or write should be used as a basis for making financial decisions. Please like and subscribe my channel. See you in the next one. Bye.